Hello everyone and welcome, and today we're gonna be looking at another deck profile, and today we're looking at the Ancient Box. So for our Pokemon we have 4 Roaring Moon as our attackers. We have 4 Great Tusk to mill our opponents. We have 4 Flutter Mane to shut off opponents' active Pokemon's abilities. We have 1 Pecharunt EX to switch our Roaring Moons into the active. We have 1 Munkidori as maybe a counter for the Dragapult. And we have 1 Radiant Greninja as the draw engine. So for our supporters we have 4 Professor Sada's Vitality to get our energies from the discard onto our ancient Pokemon. We have 4 Explorer's Guidance to look 6 cards and discard 4 preferably ancient ones. And 1 Boss's Orders. For our item cards we have 4 Nest Ball to get our basic Pokemon onto our bench. We have 4 Earthen Vessel to get the energies from our deck into our hand. We have 3 Pokegear to get our supporters. We have 2 Counter Catcher because we tend to be behind in prizes. We have 2 Night Stretcher to get our energy or Pokemon from the discard. We have 1 Superior Energy Retrieval to get our energies from the discard. We have 1 Super Rod to get the Pokemon back in the deck. We have 1 Dark Patch to load up the Roaring Moons with the energies. We have 1 Palpad to return the Sadas back to our deck. We have 1 Ultra Ball to get more discard power and to get a Pokemon from our deck into our hand. We have 1 Hisuian Heavy Ball to get the Pokemon from the prizes, and we have 1 Secret Box as the ace pack of choice. For our Pokemon tool cards, we have 4 of the Ancient Booster Energy Capsules. We have 3 of our Pokestop as our stadiums. And we have 7 basic Darkness Energies. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the interesting inclusion and exclusions in this list. This list is actually inspired by the runner-up from the Champions League Osaka. The only difference is that I believe that the Secret Box is a bit better ace pack than the Brilliant Blender. But what I found very interesting in this deck is the Munkidori inclusion, and I was really thinking a lot why this Munkidori was actually there, and then it just kind of came up to me naturally. It actually is there to deal with the Dragapult EXs, which are growing a lot in Japan lately, and actually the Munkidori lets you move the damage when they're ramping up for multiple price turns, to move this damage to mess up their numbers a lot. And actually it sounds very interesting, but it actually works like a charm. So that's one of the more interesting inclusions. And about the more interesting exclusions is actually the fact that there are no Koraidons. With the Surging Sparks set, we got the new The Better Koraidons, and I find it very interesting that the runner-up didn't play them. I mean, you don't need to because you have 4 Roaring Moons, which is actually more than good enough, but actually the Koraidons could found a spot in this deck, but it works perfectly without them as well. So that's on the inclusions and exclusions part. And yeah, also the ace pack that varies the Secret Box, I find it to have way more value because you discard 3 with the Brilliant Blender, you discard 5, but when you discard 3 with the Secret Box, you still get a supporter, a tool card, a item, you get everything. But with the Brilliant Blender, you just throw things in the discard and you're just saying, hey, that's it. So I think there is still a lot more value and merit to be playing Secret Box as opposed to the Brilliant Blender, because yeah, with the Brilliant Blender, you get 20 more damage by the use of the Ace spec as you would with the Secret Box, but you get nothing from it, while with the Secret Box you still get some cards from your deck, and it's still, in my opinion, a better Ace spec to be running in this build, at least in my opinion. So, next thing I want to talk about is some of the matchups, and actually this deck is insanely good against decks like Cerulege, like Raging Bolt. It's actually very good into the Snorlax stall as well because of the Pecherant. It's good in most decks that actually provide a very tough burden to get through. For most of the meta decks, this one goes through very easily. However, this deck has a horrible matchup into decks like Charizard, which is a very, very popular deck, and it's having a very tough time against the Dragapult Thorns deck, which is also on the rise. And yeah, while we are helping out with the Munkidori to disrupt all of that, but it's still, I don't know, man. I think it's still a very uphill battle, and it's still very tough to win with the Ancient Box against the Dragapult Thorns. But in vast majority of the other meta decks, it actually has a pretty cool matchup. It has a good matchup into, like I said, the Raging Bolts and Ceruleges, the more aggressive decks. It also has a very 50-50 matchup into the best deck of this current format, which is the Regidrago V-Star. And it also has a pretty slightly favored matchup into the Cloth Terapagos. So that's why I think the Ancient Box is actually a very interesting deck to be playing right now. So, thank you so much for watching, you guys, and catch you next time.